My name is Leah Vachani. I am your host, obviously. I'm also your holistic health and hormone coach. And I'm really excited to introduce Julie Olson today. She is a triple certified functional medicine nutritionist, and she's been selected as top 20 person to watch in the health and wellness space. Kudos to you, Julie. That was by the Los Angeles Tribune magazine. She's also the host of the Healthy Body, Healthy Hair Summit, and known for investigating, discovering, and communicating root cause resolutions to rebuild health and naturally regrow hair. Julie's mission is to empower people worldwide to restore their health, hope, and hair naturally to look and feel their absolute best. I love it, Julie. I am so excited to have you here today because one of the common things I hear from my clients and friends and family is, what is going on with my hair? So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. I'm very passionate about this because before I got into this industry, I had major, horrible, significant hair loss.
Yeah.
And it's really become a problem worldwide. I mean, men lose about 70%. About 70% of men have significant hair loss, but now it's 50% of women are having significant hair loss. And I think it's going in pace with the stress worldwide, chronic diseases, and the xenoestrogens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let me there's over 50 causes of female hair loss, but let me just rattle those off, and then I'm going to bring it all together with what I've put into 5 functional categories, root cause categories.
Let's talk about it. Like, what are they? List them all.
Well, first and foremost, nutritional deficiencies, or even surpluses, gut dysbiosis, imbalanced gut, and of course, hormonal imbalances, and that's anything from elevated dihydrotestosterone, DHT, even low estrogen, Hashimoto's, Graves, hyperthyroidism, PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, menopause, premenopause, postmenopause. And then we
all the ladies are raising their hands now.
And that's I'll get into it later, but that's also because of low estrogen and progesterone that you experience through menopause, postmenopause, and all that. It just gets depleted. But diabetes, any blood sugar imbalances, fungal imbalances like candida, viruses, COVID-19, huge. Our virus, anemia or iron overload, poor digestion, malabsorption, toxic overload, mold, xenoestrogens, medications, unresolved stressors, trauma, PTSD, environmental toxins, gluten anti-gliadin antibodies, autoimmune alopecia, and there's different types, and just autoimmune diseases in general, crash or liquid diets done wrong, parasites, chronic inflammation, adrenal fatigue, food sensitivities or allergies, poor circulation, systemic lupus or syphilis, heavy exercise or even a sedentary lifestyle, infections, chronic illness, heavy metals, mood disorders, even depression and anxiety play a role here. Skin disease, genetics, know that, a high fever, excessive hairstyling, mast cell activation syndrome. That's a hidden one. Circadian rhythm dysfunction, insomnia, and sleep disorders.
That's literally almost everyone. So
yeah, but it puts stress on your body, and we can go through these and why after I 5 categories. Okay, EMFs, sensitivity or overload, and then there's a lot of chemicals, but the top 4 ones are formaldehyde, parabens, phthalates, sulfates, and I guess that's 5, polyphenol glycol. And then, of course, pesticides, especially the glyphosate.
Which is in all of our food, basically.
Yeah, unless we eat organic. Low protein intake, that's huge, especially you need that quality protein that has the long chain and essential amino acids. You know
Yep.
about that, Lee.
Oh, I know. I'm telling all my clients all the time, stop eating low protein.
Yeah, I mean, our hair is basically made of protein.
Protein. Yeah.
And it also needs those fatty acids. So any imbalance or depletion of fatty acids, the healthy fatty acids,
Yep.
low intake of phytonutrients and fiber, under eating, and of course, eating disorders, and parathyroidism, which is totally different than hypo or hyperthyroidism. That you need to be checked for that. Of course, cancer, SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, postpartum, so after having a baby.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so you can see it's broad, but the 5 categories I put them in are inflammatory, stress-induced, hormonal, digestive, and nutritional. And the new one I have is toxins, toxic overload.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all the listeners got a taste of that when they listened to Wendy Trudeau. Dr. Trudeau went into detail about the toxicity that we're just swimming in these days. So, yeah, they've already heard a little bit on that, but it's really like that list that you said can feel like, oh my God, like I have at least, 2, 3, 5, 10 of those things you just said. And I know that a lot of women are struggling. They're wondering, like, why am I losing hair? And then they go to the doctors and they're just getting dismissed. Like, oh,
Right.
just deal with it. So what do we do?
That's another reason I'm so passionate about this, because when I was losing hairs and clumps, I went to multiple practitioners and they just dismissed me or said, you can get on lifelong medications, serums, and oh, you could do these expensive lasers. And, it's not a lack of Rogaine that we have hair loss.
Yeah.
Not. And it's really unfortunate too, because a lot of these women that come to me, they're a hot mess like I was when I had hair loss. But it can be a gift, because I probably wouldn't have changed, and I discovered a lot of imbalances that I probably would have gotten so bad that I would have gotten new cancer or something. Both my mother and my sister had breast cancer. So keeping this in check, and I think hair loss, it was a gift to me, and I feel it's a gift to these other women, because again, they have a lot of symptoms and issues, but guess what their number one complaint is the hair loss.
Yeah. But well, it's the thing that brings them in the door, right?
Right.
I mean, vanity drives us, most women. But what you said is so true. It's a gift, like actually having, like, so it's a sign that something underlying is happening. Right. And losing the hair is just a symptom. It's a sign. And so, like you say, it's a gift that, well, thank goodness you discovered that there was, well, I don't even know what you discovered, but there was something else going on, and you may not have discovered that as soon or ever if you hadn't had a symptom that none of us want to deal with, because it's a vanity issue too.
Right. And then also, I mean, these women are eating great. They come in and be like, I don't get it. I'm eating healthy, and they're eating healthy. But once I start doing functional labs and looking under the hood and questioning them, and you can see clearly in these labs that they're not absorbing their nutrients. Mm-hmm. One thing about you are what you eat, but it's not really, that's not the case. It's you are what you absorb. And
I say the same thing. I love that. And say that again for people, because I think that is so important. That is such an important message you just said.
You're not what you eat. You are what you absorb.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with absorption and malabsorption issues pretty much worldwide is the stress and the inflammation. So it's like a vicious cycle. So I have those 5 functional categories, but let me explain a little bit about how they overlap. Mm-hmm. So, okay, hair has 3 main growth stages. It has the antigen, which is the growing phase, the catagen, which is the regression phase, and then the telogen, which is the resting phase. So when we are stressed, when we're constantly in their fight or flight, which I was, before I slowed down and had this gift of hair loss, what it does is it prematurely pops your hair into the resting phase, the telogen phase. And they even have a name for it. It's called telogen effluvium. And that's the same type of hair loss with the COVID shed. But it's also the inflammation. The stress causes not only popping it prematurely so it won't grow, but the inflammation damages hair follicles. And there is an urgency here. So if you're losing more than 100 and 150 hairs a day, day after day, week after week, you want to address it because you don't want it to get to the point where you have miniaturization of the hair follicles and then scarring, because then it's nearly impossible to reverse.
So for the,
yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, for the ladies that aren't counting each hair they lose all day, I've heard there's an average, right? And what does that look like versus 150 plus? What does that look like and feel?
You'll know. You'll see whenever it's on your pillow. It's everywhere. Yeah. It's on your pillow. It's on your clothes for work. It's in your sink. It's in your shower. It's in your, when you're comparing, I mean, it's just everywhere. And you'll know, I mean, it's harmful. It's everywhere. Sure. We shed in the spring. Right now is shedding time. So don't worry about it so much now, but if it continues, again, like 150 hairs is a really good handful.
Yeah. I remember, like, for those of you that have experienced that, if you've had a child, if you've given birth to a child, I experienced that about 3 to 4 months after I gave birth. And it was like, wait, what? No one told me about this. What is happening? And that for healthy women will go away. Like you'll recover. Right. This is a situation where it's continuous. It's not a short-lived, like postpartum.
Right.
Yeah. So what do we do? Like, what are the first steps if we notice this and we're starting to wonder where all this hair is coming from and getting a little concerned? We're over 40. We're starting to thin a little. What do we do first?
Well, the best thing would be to just do the foundational work. And a lot about what you're talking about on the summit is, get your stress managed. And it's tougher when we're going into menopause and premenopause, postmenopause. The summit's 40 and over, but getting your sleep, getting the right nutrients, getting that protein intake, getting that circulation. You can't even doing down dog or even standing on your head or using a massage. I don't have it here, but it's a little
like stimulates the scalp, the blood flow.
Yeah, you need to circulate. You need the nutrients up there. Being so sedentary all day is not helping anybody, and it's getting younger and younger with these women.
You mean the hair loss is starting earlier?
It's starting at
wow.
I have a couple clients that are 17, 18 years old.
Oh no, that must be stress. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let's
and then you throw in, that the COVID where everyone was isolating themselves and stressed out, and so then it lends your way to digestion. You're not absorbing those nutrients, and then if you don't sleep well, then you just crave like chocolate and crap, and so it's almost a vicious cycle. I mean, your adrenals play a role here. I mean, a lot of things you're talking about on the summit. So that's why, to answer your question the long way, is work with the foundational pieces and get all that lined up, and then see someone like myself that will do functional lab testing, because you need to figure out, it's better to figure out exactly what's driving it. And it's usually starts in the gut.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme too in these summit master classes, is that you and several other practitioners have basically said, like, whatever you're going to do on to address these specific issues, you first need a foundation of health. And that pretty much encompasses the 5 pillars you were talking about. It's sleep, stress, digestive health, movement, and diet. And if you don't address those first, the other things you add, let's say you do functional testing, let's say you do specific supplements or whatever it is, it won't work as efficiently if you don't get the foundation right. So I'm noticing that as a recurrent theme between you and other practitioners. And I just wanted to kind of say that out loud because a lot of women do wonder, what do I do first? Well, you and several other experts have answered that. Like, first, you got to set the foundations and set yourself up with a good foundation.
Yeah.
That was really helpful. Can we dive a little bit into like one of those pillars, maybe explaining the connection between digestive health and hair vitality? Like, how can gut issues lead to thinning or loss?
Sure.
Yeah.
There's multiple. So dysbiosis is an imbalance of good and bad bacteria. And so the bad bacteria will basically push out the good bacteria. And when I see a stool test, I see a like low acromantia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like living in a thin walled or paper house, right? You have to build that up. And then also there's nutrient robbers that I will discover in a stool test. Like I had H. pylori, and I see that a lot. That's going to rob your nutrients, and it's going to make it really difficult to absorb your nutrients. And then parasites, they're nutritional pirates.
Mm.
You've got to gosh, what else? Yeast. I see candida all the time, and that is really a prevalent cause of hair loss and a lot of other issues. And what else? So your secretory IgA is off, or you have high inflammation. You've got, I mean, I have whole classes on going through these tests I like to do. I mean, there's a lot of tests I use, but stool test is definitely one of my favorites, and like an organic acids test and a NutriVal. Organic acids, it's going to look at your metabolites. It looks at some of the same markers as the stool test, but it looks at them differently. And you can also look at, oxalates. Are you methylating? Are you, it even shows on the NutriVal if you have a toxic overload. And it looks to see what nutrients you're absorbing or not. Set neural markers like, is your quinolinic acid elevated? And that's a neurotoxin. There's just a lot of pieces. I love it. I love the detective work, but it's important because sure, maybe we can get your hair growing again, especially if you have like the chronic telogen effluvium. That is a stress-induced type of hair loss, and that is, as long as you get everything in order, it should grow back. But another layer that you might find really interesting, Lay, is they've discovered a scalp follicle microbiome.
Not surprised.
Yeah. So it's similar. It's very similar to our gut microbiome, and the issue though is it requires an enormous amount of energy in the form of ATP and mitochondrial energy along with those nutrients. But the problem is when someone is compromised, those nutrients are first going to go to their vital organs. And since our hair is not a vital organ per se, it's going to get the last of the love of everything. And so it's almost a vicious cycle. You got to keep on top of it because, again, like I mentioned, there is an urgency here. You don't want it to get to the point of the scarring of the hair follicle.
Okay, so I have to ask then, is there a point where you can't regrow the hair? Okay.
Well, yes and no. Okay. Another reason I'm so passionate about this is because I have this peer-reviewed published abstract on hair loss, and I have 4 subjects that I there's studies done on people that had, two of them had alopecia universalis. They lost hair of their entire body. And there's before and after pictures. And then one woman, she had Crohn's and she had major hair, like at the front part was gone. And then interesting is this male who was 86 years old. He had colon disease, depression, but again, we had an alopecia spot on the back of his head. So and the reason I have it, and the reason I want to mention it here to answer your question, is because it proves the fact that if you do a gut reboot, not only can those other issues resolve, but they discovered that your hair grows back. Now, guess what that gut reboot was?
I think you're going to tell us.
It's a fecal microbial transplant.
Okay.
Now, again, these are not done for a hair loss. They're usually done for someone has E. coli or, some, gut issue. And that's why these people took the fecal microbial transplant, but they noticed that the enormous hair growth afterwards.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so for your listeners, a fecal microbial transplant is you're taking the feces of a healthy donor, and you're repopulating your gut. So it's making your microbiome healthy. And it's rebooting. It's a reboot.
Yeah. I've heard of many people doing that for more serious diseases and illnesses, but I haven't heard of it for hair loss. That's interesting. But it makes sense with the gut, hair, the microbiome connection there.
Right.
That's interesting. Well, aside from, so if we didn't want to do a fecal transplant, do you think that there's supplements? Does it work to supplement with probiotics, or is that just not enough?
That's not enough. So
No.
I go through the 5 R's. I don't know. So the first R is the most important, remove. And that lasts a couple months. And that's where, someone like myself will do the detective work with functional labs, and even, customized blood work and, hormonal tests, food sensitivity tests, maybe even genetic tests, looking for heavy metals and mycotoxins and SIBO and, they're mast cell activate. You've got to get under the hood, because you need to remove those. You also need to remove the stressors in your life. And maybe it's external stressors like mold. Maybe it's a bad relationship or a stressful job that's not serving you. Because again, going back to that foundation we talked about, you can do all these things and you can take supplements and even eat healthy till the cows come home. But if you don't have the other foundations in check, you can actually waste time and money.
Yep.
So, and then, and then going through the other phases of replace, reinoculate, repair, and rebalance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you
for everyone, because if someone has SIBO, you have to be really careful, as like the different approach. And if someone has, really big hormonal imbalances, maybe they need to get their thyroid addressed. Sometimes medication is needed. But, at the end of the day, our hormones are created in our gut. So getting our gut healthy is going to not only help grow our hair, but our health in general. And, even if I discover parasites or H. pylori or, oh gosh, all these other imbalances, it's because your gut is so unhealthy that it's letting them in, leaky gut and so forth. I mean, we're exposed to toxins day after day, but when our gut is so unhealthy, it's going to just manifest. And it's such a vicious cycle, and that's going to cause the inflammation. And then, inflammation is a big component of blood sugar imbalances, pre-diabetes, diabetes, so is circulation. Um, yeah, and then, we're going to get inflammation if we're not sleeping well. Are we not sleeping well because our gut's not healthy? It's like again, it's important to understand that there's hope here, and you don't have to do this because you need to get your health in check, whether you want to grow your hair back or not, because as you grow older, you want to be fabulous. You want to feel fabulous.
Why we have the summit.
Exactly. And can we talk about the $211 billion? That's B.
B.
Hair industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to talk about that.
So the thing is, what happens, and it happened to me too, because it's not regulated, and they can twist a couple of things. So they can manipulate the definition of hair loss and hair thinning, and they can take studies and make claims that are unsubstantiated. Like, say they have saw pimento in their supplement. So they say it's clinically, this whole supplement is but saw pimento along with a bunch of other things. Or they've got some proprietary blend and you don't really know what's in it. And so if you notice, well, I notice because that's my specialty, but these hair companies, not only do they have these shampoos that help but now they're all coming out with supplements. And none of them, 99% of them don't work, are not. And I know this also because I follow Rob English. He's a medical hair loss researcher, and he's done tests on all of them. And that's because they're not addressing the root cause. That's the bottom line. And you can waste an enormous amount of money. I mean, people I had so many different hair shampoos and serums, and
well, because you're desperate too. Like when you're losing something like that.
Right, and the hair industry is preying on that. 211 billion. That is more most industries.
And yet I see a lot of people walking around with hair loss, so I don't think it's working.
No, it's not. And it overwhelms women. It traps you into, wondering what to do, unsure if it's a scam or not. Go one product to the next. But it looks real because they have these medical claims and blah, blah, blah. They twist all the wording. And
so what's your message to the women to avoid these scams?
Just avoid them.
Like, just stop.
Just get there are it's true. You need to get a clean shampoo, and you can't be putting.
Can you say define what clean is? Because some people may not know.
Well, it doesn't have those chemicals that I talked about before: formaldehyde, parabens, phthalates, sulfates, propylene glycol.
Do you use Skin Deep or EWG for that?
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. So if you're wondering if your shampoo or conditioner or hair products are clean, go to Skin Deep. Is it still called Skin Deep? Well, it's part of EWG.org.
Yeah.
A database there that's really good.
Yeah. And just don't go. I mean, some shampoos are better than others. I have some on my website I like.
Oh, nice.
That are real gentle for your hair. I mean, washing your hair with harsh ingredients is not going to help things either. Just like over styling it and putting in all those chemicals. But also washing your hair. So that's another myth, is that if you have hair loss, you shouldn't wash your hair. That backfires because the oil clogs your pores and makes it worse. Wash your hair regular. It's going to fall out anyway until you get this sorted out.
Yeah.
So don't stop washing it. Yeah.
But you said there's hope.
Yes.
So you said just there, I think a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to lose any more hair, so I don't want to wash it. Like people freak out when they start losing hair. And I kind of want to switch, before I lose you with your time here, I want to switch to a message of hope now and share with women, like maybe you have success stories or things that you can tell us to focus on if we are in that mode of like freaking out because we're losing our hair.
Yeah, I don't. There's definitely hope, and give this a try. Give the natural approach a try. Your body wants to be in equilibrium. It wants you to have hair. It's gonna fight for you. You just need to have all the pieces in place for it to happen. So, going back to the foundation, and I'll offer your listeners 50% off my foundation program. That's normally $97, so they can get it for half off. We can put it in the notes, but it's got 4 videos talking about these foundations, 4 weeks of recipes. So they're anti-inflammatory recipes, and they're foods, the top foods for hair growth. And it's got 17 guides and checklists, the protein piece, a bunch of different checklists and guides. So, I mean, that's first and foremost, start there. It can, again, your hair, it wants to grow back, but, yeah, so that, and I have a ton of, success stories, before and after pictures, videos. One of my favorites is a 73-year-old woman who was actually wearing a wig for years. And again, eating so healthy. It's so, I mean, she's doing yoga like 3 times a week, weightlifting twice. I mean, she's so healthy, eats so out. She was unbelievably healthy, and she'd been to different, even functional medicine practitioners for years. And she went through my program, and guess what we found?
What?
We found major gut dysbiosis and a pretty stubborn parasite.
Ooh.
And she says now her hair is growing back for the first time in a decade.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Wow. I love also that she was 73 and, a lot of practitioners, doctors might say, well, you're old. You're going to lose your hair,
Even like that 86-year-old on the abstract.
Yeah.
And that's a PubMed study. Like, I didn't do that. He 86 years old. And not only did he grow back his alopecia bald spot, but he relieved his depression and helped his Crohn's disease. It's just.
So if you're listening in your 70s, your 80s, maybe even your 90s, don't settle for any practitioner that's going to blow you off or dismiss you because of your age. You get to feel fabulous at whatever age you are. And people like Julie Olson can help you discover the underlying reasons why whatever you're doing isn't working. I love that message.
Yeah. And I also just want to point out that you can find, if you do Dr. Google, you'll find good things about lasers and PRP and and you'll find things out there that they say they work, but 49% of the hair transplants do not work. Do you know why?
Because they have underlying root causes?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't grow a garden in clay.
Mm-hmm.
It works for a little bit and then it falls out.
Yep.
And I get those people too. And then also, a lot of people are going to third world countries. Turkey is like a black market for hair transplants.
Mm.
And evidently they, don't even, they mess it up so much that even like professional hair transplant doctors can't do anything with it. So start with the foundation, start with everything we're talking about, Lee's talking about on the summit. There's a lot of great speakers, a lot of great messages, and your hair is a reflection of your health.
Yeah. And as tempting as it is to get those immediate gratification, quick fix, pop-up pill scenarios, like even my husband, he started to notice, he's in mid-40s, started to notice some hair loss. And one of his friends, said, well, why don't you try this product? It was Hims or something. I can't remember what the actual chemical product was, but he looked into it and he's like, but then I'm going to be on a product for the rest of my life because when you stop it, then
So Minoxidil and Rogaine, when you stop it, your hair falls out.
yeah,
And you also, there's side effects. And then finasteride, the one that men take for elevated DHT, the side effects are horrendous, and evidently they don't always go away. The side effects are males just sexual dysfunction, and there's been a lot of studies showing that even when they got off finasteride, that it doesn't go away. And women are put on finasteride too. It came to me, it was put on what is that for male erections they take?
Viagra?
Yeah, she was on Viagra. Her doctor told her to take Viagra for her hair loss.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I've never heard that.
yeah, I think her doctor was thinking because she needed the circulation or something. I mean, a lot of also women come to me on spirulactin. They've been on it for years. It's not doing a thing. And they're also getting the side effects. And so again, everything Lay's talking about in the summit, you can do this. There's and do this first, you know? I mean, sure, some movie stars and stuff that have tons of money have success with some of these other treatments, but it's not getting to the root cause. And
and I'm guessing if women watching are struggling with hair loss, that may be the first symptom. Maybe it's the second or third, but there's going to be more symptoms in different areas of your body. If you do have underlying conditions, you can't just keep putting Band-Aids on one and then something else pops up. And it's like, it becomes like a whack-a-mole game. And at that point, like you'll have to go to the foundations anyway. So you might as well just do that now and address what Julie was saying with the 5 pillars. Yeah. Well, Julie, this has been super informative. And if women watching, they want to address hair loss, I know you have a free gift for them, as well as the discounted program you mentioned, but you have a free gift too.
Right. So I have a roadmap. It's a 32-page guide.
Yeah.
And it has multiple recipes outside of the 32 pages. There's recipes, I'll link to recipes, hair healthy recipes. And there's the quiz there. The quiz will help you indicate which of those 5 functional root causes you have. And then there is a link to the foundation. So if you put in the code HF for Healthy Hair Fix 50, it will give you 50% off that foundations within the roadmap, or you can go to my website and it's there too.
Well, Julie, this has been really a great talk. And I think that you are going to be transforming a lot of women's lives watching today. So I thank you for that. And thank you for your time. And is there anything you want to leave off on?
You can do this. Thumbs up. You got it.
It's possible, ladies. You can stop the thinning. You can go from thinning to thriving and transform your hair health after 40. You can do this.
Word with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. Well, like everything with health, if you're getting to the root cause and you want to address it all, it's not going to be a quick fix. So, give yourself the grace and the commitment. So thank you so much, Julie. It's been a pleasure.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.